what you have planned for the show in Atlantic City. Is it going to be mostly foreigner material, or are you doing other stuff as well?
Well, I think that the fans would expect to hear the foreigner big hits, and we play them as they should be played, and I think that no one would be disappointed in the way they're performed. We also do my solo hits and maybe an old Beatles song too.
Now, when you say you perform them the way they should be, does that mean sort of true to the album versions, or what do you mean by that?
Yeah, as far as arrangement goes, and nobody takes great liberties with their playing, so it's not a ad-libbing contest. We play them like it should be played, with a lot of feel, but true to the record.
And now you're known, of course, for having such a great, powerful voice and almost sort of operatic, in terms of your range. So how is it, to hit the notes now and try and, sing the song? Do you have to do a lot to warm up your voice now, or what's that like?
I do the same warming up that I've done for 35 years, and that's about before the show, about 20 minutes to a half an hour of doing scales, singing little parts of different songs on my own, and just I can tell when my voice is reaching a timbre where it feels comfortable, and then I stop and we go on stage.
And do you have to rest your voice, on certain days or anything like that? Is there anything extreme?
Oh yeah, if we have 2 or 3 shows in a row, even after the first show, I'm not talking. I won't do interviews after the show, and the guys in the band and stuff know not to start conversations with me. For me, after a show, the best thing I could do for myself is to just be quiet. Not that I couldn't talk, but after a show that kind of tests your vocal ability, immediately afterwards, it would be smarter to just let it rest.
And what's more of a challenge, to sing, some of the ballads, or where you're sort of sustaining notes, or some of the rock numbers where there's just, they're kind of more vigorous, or what's the?
Well, they're all challenging, and they're all very satisfying to sing. Probably, maybe the ballads might be a little more challenging because your pitch has to be deadly accurate, and if it's not, it's real obvious to ourselves and the audience.
And do you find that fans are is it the ballads that really get them going? That sort of they react to more, or what gets the biggest response?
I think it's. I don't think one overshadows the other. It's a different kind of response. A ballad will garner the oohs and the ahs along with the applause, and I think a song like Jukebox Hero, if it's performed well, will get a lot of applause and full on cheers.
It must be nice to hear.
It's awesome to hear.
Yeah. And speaking of that song, that also inspired the title for your memoir that came out last year. And I'm curious about why you decided you were ready to tell your story. What motivated you to do the book?
Well, I actually had been doing a lot of thinking. The thought had crossed my mind about doing a book a few years ago, and it got to the point where I spoke to my co-author Scott Petoniak when I first met him, and he had already written a number of books. He mainly deals in sports biographies, and when I met him, we talked, and I wasn't sure I had enough anecdotes and stories and enough in my life to warrant a full book. I thought maybe a pamphlet would be better. But
and I guess he assured you had enough material.
Oh yes, he did, and so once a week we would meet at my studio, and we would spend about 2.5 or 3 hours just talking, and he would record everything, and periodically he would ask me questions about certain shows, or while I was recording this album or that album, what was this like, and he would actually stir my memory to things that I hadn't thought about in years. And at a certain point, after doing this once a week for over a year, he finally said, "Okay, we're done. I think we have enough for a great book."
Mm.
Of course, then it took him a number of weeks to start putting things in order chronologically, and make sure he had all his facts and spellings right, and there's a lot more to it, and
sure.
And then we handed it off to our publisher.
And was it difficult to relive some of the sort of challenges in your life? I know you open up about your addiction issues, and I guess some of the creative tensions within Foreigner. How was it for you to revisit some of those times in your life?
Most of it was okay, because I'd lived it and then gone over it so much in my life that I could think about it and not get caught up in it. But there were a couple things, I can't think of them right now, that kind of caught me off guard though, and I got emotional. I couldn't help but get emotional. They were things that I hadn't thought of in years, and when Scott touched upon them, it was like touching a nerve.
Right. Now, was your most recent health setback with the brain tumor, was that in the book, or did that happen? That happened before the book came out, right?
No, that was definitely in the book. That happened in 1997.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right. I didn't have a date in my head. So you've been fully recovered since that incident. You've been able to, recover from that completely.
Yeah. I mean, there was damage done to the pituitary. I'm on a whole regimen of medication, but I feel good. My physical health and my mental health is very good, and I'm living a normal life, but there's certain medications that I need to take to make up for deficiencies.
Mm-hmm. And in looking back, to do the book, we talked about some of the challenges that you had to sort of, include, or you wanted to include. What is, is there a career highlight, that something that struck you as you were reconstructing things, and that was a real, wow, personal high for you in terms of, achieving something? Or
well, when Foreigner performed for Atlantic Records' 40th anniversary, all the stars that had been on Atlantic Record for years, Led Zeppelin, Aretha Franklin, Vanilla Fudge, people like that, Lenny Kravitz. It was at Madison Square Garden, and it was an unbelievable event. And when Foreigner came on stage, we rocked the house hard. And then we played I Want to Know What Love Is, and usually we would ahead of time we would ask a gospel choir to join us on stage for that. But for some reason that kind of slipped between the cracks, And so I was singing the song, and when it came to the chorus, I'm singing the chorus, and I hear a lot of other voices, good voices. Thinking, my first thought is, we don't have a choir. Where are these voices coming from? And I turned around, and it was Phil Collins. It was all the other singers from all the other groups that performed that day made up our choir.
Wow, it's like an all-star choir.
You know, it was unbelievable, and it just sent chills down my back. It was fantastic. So that was very memorable. Also, Cal Jam 2 in front of about 480,000 people, and in 1979, that was a highlight. We played our whole first album, and then we got an encore, and we had nothing to play. So we had been in the studio recording our second album, Double Vision, and we had just finished recording Hot Blooded. So when we got our ovation from the audience, we went back on stage and played Hot Blooded, which hadn't been released yet. So people were hearing it and had nothing to compare it to, and that brought the house down.
Mm.
So consequently, we released it as our second single.
So tested it right there, a little audience research right there.
Absolutely, yep. And it proved to be a winner.
Mm. Okay, the last thing I want to just ask you before we go is about performing as Foreigner. I know you and Mick Jones, I think you reunited last year for the Songwriters Hall of Fame induction.
Yes.
Is there any chance that you might do another reunion? Anything in the works?
Nothing in the works, but we continue to mend fences, and we do speak to each other upon occasion. He's not in good health, Mick, unfortunately.
Right.
He doesn't perform much with his band, so they perform as Foreigner, and there's not a Foreigner in it.
Right.
But periodically he'll make an appearance. I guess he just doesn't have the stamina to tour anymore.
Right.
So I'm not sure if having anything in the works would prove to be futile. Anyways, I just don't know.
Yeah. Mm.
And I haven't talked to him enough to really know how his health is.
And would you like to use the Foreigner name, or you prefer just to be out as Lou Gramm and under your own name? So.
Well, you know what? The name belongs to Mick, and it's real obvious that the people who are using the name now are the people he wants to use the name. I would never think for a second that I would be able to use that name only other than the voice of Foreigner or formerly a Foreigner, you know?
Right, sure. Well, that conveys the voice of Foreigner says it all, I guess,
Yep. Which it's really his decision.
Right. Okay, anything else before we go? Anything else happening that we should know about? Any new music coming out or anything else you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. I'm hoping to be working on an album at some point this year. We're the economy and such seems to be a little better than it has been in the past 2 or 3 years. We have more shows on the books now at this point than we played all last year. So I'm looking forward to a nice full summer of touring. But meanwhile, we already have 2 or 3, or maybe even a few more than that, good song ideas that we want to get in the studio and record. So I think it's going to be a fun year.